Hi, thank you. Thank you for joining us in the Best of Intentions, the podcast of intention films and media. This has been really awesome. It's like you're eavesdropping on our personal conversations, and that's always fun. And I get to talk to my friends, so that's the best thing for me. But I am so excited to invite a filmmaker friend who I've met just recently over and over again. Seems to be at different things, which is really cool. But I'd like to present writer, director, producer, Ise White. I know you do other things too.
Yeah. I don't tap dance though, sadly.
I used to tap dance.
Did you?
I want to
Really?
take tap dance again, but
I mean, I think it's an under like I mean, it's like, what was it? Heyday was back when Shirley Temple was doing it, and it was like really hot then, and now it's kind of fallen off.
I don't know. I would still tap dance if I could. John's
Really?
daughter tap dances, by the way.
Really?
She does. Yeah, I'd like to do that again, but anyway, I know you're out here because you're going to be working on a film over the next couple of days on Long Island.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's pretty cool, and you have a lot of my filmmaker friends on board.
Thank you, Deb, for saving our butts. I mean, it was just sort of like we needed crew to be in Long Island because otherwise that travel is
Very expensive.
very expensive and also like time consuming because that traffic is a bear. It's like when you find out that the distance actually between like JFK and Manhattan is like, it's like what, 5 miles? It's actually like, it's really short, but it takes you an hour and a half to 2 hours to get there. It's crazy, right?
Yeah. I mean, Long Island is known for having pretty much every location under the sun, except for mountains, except for the fact that it takes you like 2 hours to go from, if you're going from out east, it's just kind of a bear. But if you're out here, then that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. You really did save our skins.
Good, I'm glad. And I love to see, I love my crew, the people I'm working with now are awesome, so I love to see them work. And
they're such sweethearts. They really are. They seem to be like some really good eggs, and they all adore you, by the way.
They do?
They
I like to hear
you.
that.
Yeah. Oh, we're like, we love Deb.
Oh, nice. I don't hear that enough, but okay, I'll take it. I want to talk about one of your latest things. You are working on a movie called Untold Valor.
It's
correct?
an episodic pilot, yeah. It's an episodic pilot. We're very fortunate to work with. Okay, so we've got this in front of a major streamer right now, and they're taking a look at it, and it was a good sign because like our initial meeting was supposed to be 15 minutes, and then it ended up being an hour and a half. They canceled 2 or 3 of their other meetings after us to keep the meeting going, so that's always a good sign. But the Untold Valor is about the World War II Comanche Code Talkers, which was a program that was almost lost to history because they were the original code talkers for the U.S. Army from 1942. So they were there 3 years before the U.S. entry into the war, and they were there till the very last day. Now, the thing that makes it so interesting is they were asked by the U.S. Army to keep it top secret, which in case they were called upon again, and which they did keep it a secret, and that's why almost no one knows about them. The Native American community knows about them really well, but nobody really knows the history. And as we started dialing in, I mean, this was a piece, I come from legacy media. I worked at Condé Nast and Hearst for decades, and so this was a piece of original journalism. And during the process of this, we also uncovered a missing artifact that had been missing for 84 years. And so we've had the pleasure of confirming some things and working with Helen Patton, the veterans from the 101st Airborne, Vision Maker Media, which is a Native American funding source for filmmakers in the Native community, and Juliana Branham, who is Ken Burns' producer, who's also Comanche and related to one of the code talkers. But I mean, so few people know actually the real history, and so our episodic 13 episodes really kind of talks about this history that if we didn't make this, it would be gone, it would be lost. And I know that because one of the grandsons actually went to open heart surgery last week, and I love the guy. I mean, once you get the trust of the Native community, your family. And so he called me before the surgery, he called me during the doctor's appointment, he called me he called me throughout the whole process, he called me when I got out of the surgery. And at that point, you're family. And at that point where it's like we're fighting against time to tell these stories. And the thing that makes it so crazy is, like, everybody knows about the Navajo code talkers, who had about somewhere between 409 to 420, depending on whose accounts you read, because they had relief. There were only 13 Comanche code talkers. They worked on average 285 days on the front line. The average American vet was on the front line 40 days. And that's because there was no one else to do their job. So for us to tell this story, it's a privilege, it's an honor, it's also a duty. It's a very important part of U.S. military history, and we're racing against time to tell this story. So, you know, but thank you for asking about it. It's something we're really proud of, and we have some big actors slated to be to play some of the lead roles. They're on, you know, so hopefully, you know, it's $130 million TV episodic. Somebody just offered us half the money, and so we're super excited. But it's everything. I say that cautiously. I'm cautiously optimistic because, you know, with film, it's until you're there on set shooting.
Yes.
Like, let's just be cautiously optimistic.
I always say, until not only a check is in the bank, but until it clears, you never know.
It not just clears, but like, and we're on the set and we're rolling, and then I'm like, okay, then we're here and we're doing it. But we're so lucky that we have so many people behind us. You know, the pilot should have cost us about $2 million, but we had grants, we had volunteers, we had the military. And, you know, the rest of that, the cash portion, we had like $150,000 grant for VFX. We had like $25,000 grant for post. I mean, we just had so much force. We had the vets showing up with a museum of military vehicles and pieces. So, I mean, it's really it's a privilege to tell this story.
The pictures were awesome. I
Thank
mean,
you.
It's unbelievable watching that, like a World War II movie, you know, with everything involved.
The pilot, and even then, it's like, I mean, look at Fury, look at 1917, Band of Brothers, you know, I think I've watched all the military films while we're preparing for this. But if you look at, you know, all of these films, I think Masters of the Air cost about $30 million per episode. So for the fact that we did it for a hefty $150,000,
beautiful.
And that's what we, you know, you have to put your money where your mouth is as a filmmaker. So myself and my production partner, we put in the cash. Like, so all my friends were going to like Mykonos and Ibiza and buying themselves stuff, and I bought myself a film.
Film. Can we try and play it? I mean, we only have the YouTube link, but let's see if it'll play on here, because it's just so cool looking.
The trailer.
Yeah, the trailer.
Oh yeah, please.
Take these back roads all the way up until we get to the 4th CP.
We need to get in contact with the fort.
No, sir, that's not possible.
Corporal, Division said you're the only one that's gonna understand. Corporal, please.
Yeah, I'm coming down to you.
Insane. Also because the military was so.
You're back on.
Yeah, that's really something. That's going to be incredible. I'm really excited to watch your journey, because I believe it's going to happen. It's just like you said, until you're there and until it's happening.
Yeah, I mean, it was wild to get this like email saying like, we're interested in funding your films, from somebody I didn't even know. So I know the word's gone out in the community, and it's interesting because I don't even know how it's gone out. I've gotten emails from people that I've wanted to speak to, but I haven't, you know, like, and they've called me, you know, like the Cherokee Film Commission. I've gotten emails from them, and that's wild, you know. And it's funny because like I'm also part Cherokee, so I was like, hey, yeah, thanks. Of course I will use Cherokee Crew. It's nice to support your own tribe. And they were like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, oh. It was a funny moment. But I'm Cherokee Choctaw, but I'm Oklahoma and Mississippi Choctaw, and there's a bit of rivalry between there, and then also Oklahoma and Cherokee. So yeah, and there is a real big film movement in the Cherokee tribe, which is incredible, and they're taking filmmaking very seriously.
Love it.
But yeah, like you were just saying, like period is a crazy thing to tackle. And the U.S. Army vets that were helping us were so specific. They were, because the other thing that was a kick in the head was we shot this during the 80th anniversary of Normandy, and so we were supposed to go to Normandy, and then it kind of ended up falling on these dates, and then we were invited to go be there for the 80th anniversary. But I mean, if you can imagine, every World War II uniform was rented. Everything was, I mean, like, it just coincidentally fell on the 80th anniversary, and so we had to order things. Like, I was like finding things like, oh, are those pairs of pants, like, what size? Great, they're coming from Italy. Great, your dad was a vet. Wonderful, I will buy those. eBay. Like, we were cobbling together, but the vets that were working with us said that so many films, so many docs, so many things don't have it right. And so we wanted to make a film that the vets themselves would never go out. And so, like, we invited them to be as hypercritical as possible, because, like, we didn't want anyone who's a real, like, military nerd like I've become, and to fall out of the world, like, that patch is not right, that's not right, so it's like down to the lapel pins and badging, and like what, and you're looking at what jacket came out what year and when and what kind of webbing. It's like so specific.
I'm glad you did that. I mean, I probably wouldn't notice such things, but John is that's what they, he's so specific. They wouldn't have worn that. That wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
That blew up 5 seconds before he ran. I mean, he kind of knows all that.
Yeah.
I don't pick it up, but there are people who will.
Oh, 100%. I'm now one of those people,
There's a Christmas movie that I have to rewrite one of the characters for, and then we hope to film it end of 2027. And I'm doing it with Michael Fideli, and even though I'm writing it, I'll go, Michael, this is what I want to happen. Can it happen?
Right.
And then he'll go and do the research. He goes, it has happened somewhere before. Or is it,
right.
Because I want to make sure, as fantastic as some of the things may be, they could actually happen.
Right.
So
right.
whether people believe it or not, that's up to them. But I always want to make sure.
That's on you, kids.
That is on us. So I know what you're saying, and I can appreciate that, because I know how much goes into that. But I mean, last thing you want to see on a period piece is somebody's like a water bottle in the background. We've seen that. Some of the films that come through the film festivals, like, there's a Deer Park water bottle in this like 40s classic, period piece.
You're like Poland Springs.
No, that's not that. But
or was it that the HBO, the Starbucks cup on the House, not House of Dragons, the original Game of Thrones. Yeah, there was a Starbucks cup that they put in on accident. Somebody left it there. Yeah, I think and then they later had to go back and retouch it out.
Oh
Amazing.
my God.
Amazing.
That's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, I can only imagine. But everyone had screenshotted the cup before they went back and fixed it.
Now, you come mostly from a commercial background, right? Is that correct?
I started off in legacy media. So, like I said, I was in I was working at Condé as an editor, and then Hearst. So I did like 6 titles over there, and so Hearst, it was Harper's Bazaar, L-Man, Harper's Bazaar Art. With Condé, it was Italian Vogue and Uomo Vogue. So I was working at the Italian titles. So what happened was I was there during the changeover from and I was one of the pioneers of going from print to cinema and filmmaking. And I remember being like 20-something, little kid, and I went to Annie Leibovitz and I'm like, you need to shoot film. And her, they laughed at me and they said, like, no, Annie doesn't need to do that. But I'm like, actually, everyone. But the thing is, though, is I think that what is funny about the photographer approach is they hire a guy. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. We're just in the middle of it. We had a rain day, so allow me to turn that off. I apologize. Gosh, what were
about you worked for Legacy Media, and you said you had to do film.
Yeah, so I think that the classic approach right now is a photographer hires a young kid with a camera and calls it a videographer. But like, when I decided to do this, when I decided to tackle the cinema, I wanted to have like a real cinematic approach and a real filmmaking approach, which was a completely, it was at the time, it was an uphill fight at all the magazines because they weren't used to it. And so I was hiring like a DP and a gaffer, a grip, best boy, and I was fortunate because right there in the middle of it, we were working with Morgan Freeman, we were doing all the promotionals, and we were asked to do original concepts that to support these films. Like we got to shoot Jeremy Renner in this spy kind of thriller vibe. They were short, so like no more than like 3-4 minutes. So that kind of led naturally into into commercials. But yeah, we shot like Morgan Freeman for Lucy. In fact, sometimes we were the only crew that had the rights to shoot these stars because we were the only magazine that had the regional right for collaboration with the studio. So we did like Morgan Freeman for Lucy, Jeremy Renner for Mission Impossible, Kit Harington for the HBO Snow. So my I guess my entry into film started off at working with some of these amazing actors, and like De Niro, we worked with De Niro a bunch of times, and it was interesting because then as I grew as a director in the magazine world, what I found was that the actors were more willing to listen to what I was saying than the photographer, because I was working with them in the way that they were used to receiving directions, because like being told to like stand and give blue steel is not really where they're at, right? They want to kind of be walked through the process. And so as my career progressed, I actually started treating photography as second and film as first, which now I did that, it was a fight, but that was like 12-15 years ago, and now that's where we're at. Now we are at film first, that's because of the algorithm. Ooh, the algorithm.
When you create something like that, like you're the first to say that you want to push that through, that's always so amazing, because at least in the beginning, you have people want to listen to you because you're the one who's doing that. I mean, I found that with the film commission, the things I got away with, nothing bad, but the fact that I was creating it, that was like I was able to say, okay, we're doing this now, and we made in tremendous amounts of money, and then you see after that now here's all the rules.
Right.
Even though you didn't do anything wrong, now you can't do this, now you can't do that, and it just becomes something very, very different. So it's cool when you have that. There's that creative spark, because then people really want to say, okay, she's doing it. What is she doing?
Right.
And it's so important. And I've seen some of your campaigns on Instagram, and they're gorgeous.
Thank you.
So gorgeous. So you have you hire like a production designer that does all that, or do you foresee the background of some of the
so I my dad had dementia. This is a little bit of the backstory. So it's like I guess like what is it they call it, the origin story. I wanted to go to film school. I was going to officially go out of fashion and go to film school, but my dad had dementia, and so I talked to like NYU, I talked to Columbia, I talked to all the AFI, and they said, no, you've got to quit your job and you've got to come to film school full time. And I'm like, I get resumes from your kids and you want me to quit. I was trying to work out some sort of part-time longer program so that I go to film school, and then I realized like I can't do this. There's no net. I have no net. My dad is really, my mom needed help. There was a lot going on with our family, and so I said, you know what, forget it. So I kind of worked my way up the departments. I worked for Danny Boyle. I worked for Ellen Kuras. Danny worked my butt off. I worked so hard for him. I got a fever, but worth it. Absolutely. He's such a legend. And so I worked my way through every department, and so the way I think of it is like, can I be an ally to each department? But sometimes when they are bullshitting me, I will go in and I will do it. And I'd be like, tell me it can't be done, and I will say it can't be done by you when I know for a fact it can't be
Love
done.
that.
Yeah, and I'm like, so your limitations, and I'm like, you can either sit down or you can cooperate. And so sometimes I'm a little bit of a ball buster because of it, but for the most part, I'm an ally. And so especially when it comes to production design, because I spent 5 years doing production design. I was like, if there was a department, I would go and like, I would talk to retouchers, editors, and I would just be like, hey, can I sit by you? I'll get you coffee, I'll sweep, I don't care. And like, I was like turning everything into my film school because I wanted to be a better producer, a better art director, a better director, you know, a better teammate, you know, because I didn't have the privilege of learning through film school. I had to learn through all the mistakes, all the eggs I broke, all the glass, you know, busted through like glass walls. You know what I mean? Did everything, including stunts. Oh my God, like that was crazy. They offered me a job, and I'm like, dude, I bruised like a peach. I'm like, I mean, it was amazing because like my great grandfather was a martial artist, and I'm actually in the Bruce Lee lineage of martial arts, having studied like swords and daggers for like 10 years. But like I was like, no, I'm like a pacifist and a vegetarian. I appreciate the offer to be a stunt person, but like I do bruise like a peach, you know. I want to be on the other side, but you know, but because of that, I do tend to take care of, you know, my stunt guys. But yeah, so when we do to go back to your question about the commercials, it's very collaborative. It's very collaborative. I want it to be epic, but also since like in the past 6 years I've worked very heavily into VFX, so sometimes I'm like, I just need a bucket of water, you know, green screen, some grass here, and I'm gonna paint everything in VFX. So that's also sometimes happens, you know, but at least I know where we need the edges, you know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah. We did a panel once at the Long Island International Film Expo, probably one of our first years, and somebody labeled it, how much money did you waste in film school? And I don't think that it's necessarily bad. Education is always a good thing,
right.
But most of the people who are actually doing this for a living saying, I would have learned more on set, and pretty much that's what I did as well. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but because I ran the Long Island International Film Expo, I would see all these independent films come in, and like for the first three films I did, I'm basically looking at films coming in that we're considering for cinematography awards, and there were 3 films in particular, and I'm looking at them like, this is the same DP, like completely different.
Oh, interesting.
One was this black and white film, noir film, another one was a very saturated film, another one was very fantasy, and I'm looking at it going, it's the same guy. So when we decided we were going to do our film, The First Taxi Driver, I knew that I would probably get scrutinized more than almost anybody else because I ran this film festival. How many hundreds of people get rejected every year because you can't take every film, you know, to being the film commissioner for probably 10 years before that. And I said, so everybody's going to look to pick it apart. So it's either we're going to do it for no money, and if it sucks, nobody's ever going to see it, or we have to make it look good. So I called Mark Ryu after we saw his films, and he was just out of college. He's actually married to Mara Bush, who's your first AD on the film.
Laura.
They met on my set.
That's what she told me.
Yeah,
she told me.
That. But
Big Mountain Man, right?
Yeah. So she was our scriptie on The Last Taxi Driver. Markowitz was our DP. And he brought in friends who they were going to start a company at the time, and we paid some ridiculous amount of money, but they were starting out, and we didn't really have a ton, and we brought them in as producers. And it's just a goofy zombie movie starring Robert Claessy from Blue Bloods. Then you will like it. You have to look. It's on my YouTube channel. But Robert Claessy from Blue Bloods is basically a taxi driver who doesn't want to give up his medallion, even though most of the people left are zombies. It's like, this is my profession, and he's not giving it up.
Makes sense. That's fair.
Yeah. I mean, everybody needs a hero. He's a hero. You're not going to push him into a corner. So we got
Nobody
him
puts
and
baby in the corner.
So it's him and Deb Twist from Kick-Ass and Emily.
Deb.
Yeah.
I can't believe. I still can't believe we know so many people in common. This is like, and we only met recently.
She's going to be my guest in a couple of episodes from now, 2 or 3 episodes from now. She's
give her like a squeeze for me.
She's in my couple of guys. She's also in my feature. She's in that as well.
Lovely.
But she's awesome.
Stunning too.
So it was just this one movie that I learned so much on it. You know, I also wanted to hire people, even though they were students, they knew so much more than I did. I knew what I wanted it to look like, but I didn't know how to get there. Right. And, so everyone you learn, more and more. And as a director, you have to always surround yourself with people who know more than you do if you can help it, but also know it's your vision at the end. That's what matters. So they have to understand that. But every film that we've made, it's like, know that for next time. Know that for next time. You know, and then mostly it's kind of second nature, most of it. Although there's always something you have to solve, no matter what.
Always something.
You know, so doing, like you said, just doing as opposed to going to school to learn how to do it. You're doing it,
Right.
Which I think is so effective. Again, I don't think there's any problem with film school. I can never have made a living doing that. So this was always my second, and now it's what I do. You know, but. I'll just never get them out. How much did you waste? I wasted $50,000. I wasted, you know, the people who never went.
Now it's up. Like actually, like I think it's like you end up with like what, $250,000 in school, right? School's expensive right now.
Yeah.
Cost of tuition's gone really high.
Yeah.
Dude, I would not want to be kids going to school right now.
No, absolutely not.
You know.
But it's really cool that. To create something when you kind of have no idea almost what you're doing when you start, but you just know where you want to get, and you figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, you talk to people and you figure it out.
No, completely. Yeah, it's I think the universe does talk to you and helps you find your way.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like if you're in that flow state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, last Taxi Driver we went through, I was thinking about the weather for the film you have coming up, and we had picked our locations, didn't know we were going to have blizzard after blizzard, and got snowed out of
Oh my God.
locations like 3 times because it's the middle of winter and most of it's outside. And so John and I that's it. We're just going to get our shovels and go there. And I don't care if it takes 6 hours. We're going to shovel it out. We look at it. And it's like, we can't do that. So we'd have to find things like the roads weren't long enough for what we needed to do. So we'd have Mark sitting in the front seat filming Chloe, and then we'd stop. And then they turn around to make the road look longer and then shoot the others, whatever we had to do to make it work. And I remember leaving them all in this one building we had for holding and catering, and just walking outside by myself in the snow going, if you want to make this movie, you got to help me because this is impossible. So if you want this to work, it's going to work. And if not, I don't make movies.
Well, it's funny because indie filmmaking has a lot more to do with commercial ethos than long form. And I'm going to leave the names out of the story, but we were shooting in Florida this very huge National Highway Safety Patrol commercial. And the DP, who's incredibly talented, came from long form, and it started raining and the cop cars didn't show up because it's Miami and why not, you know. The cop cars didn't show up. Luckily, the producers, a friend of mine, had talked the actual Miami police to allow us to sticker their cars and to use their cars, and they were extras as well. They were delighted to be in it. So I mean, thank God, because otherwise the picture card people just stopped answering the phones. But there was a moment when the director, who's a friend, was like, well, it's raining, so the DP, who's long form, very well known in long form, was like, well, okay, so we're just gonna take a rain day, get an insurance check. And he goes, no, because it's a commercial and we're only scheduled for 1 day of filming, right? So he's like, no, we're just gonna rewrite the whole concept to include rain. And it actually looked incredible. And then I remember sitting next to him and I heard him say, oh, you're long form. You're used to, like, because in the long form, you take a break, you call, you get insurance, and you get the insurance check written for all the days that, you know, and all the expenses that you have, and then you keep pushing on. And yeah, that's long form, you know, because you need everything to look the same. In short form and indie, you're just like, what do I got? I got mud. I got mud pies. I'm making mud pies. Like, what do I got? You know, is it raining? Is it snowing? Whatever it is, that's what we got.
That's exactly what we did.
I'm gonna rewrite this. It's gonna be great. You know?
And you know, we're right on set. I think it was 3 days. I think it was 3 days. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we shot for 3 days. But it was the same thing. It's like, all right, we had 6 different weather patterns in 3 days. I will say the snow looked awesome because it was supposed to be after the apocalypse, and so it's like just walls and walls of snow. I'm like, we couldn't. I wouldn't do this intentionally, but that's what we got. So we're gonna make it work.
Yeah.
It was interesting, and I remember the second day of filming is we were supposed to have another blizzard, and And we're inside. Luckily, they let us go inside to have lunch. And I said to Chloe, Bobby Classy, I said, because we were sending somebody to pick him up, I said, is there anywhere I can put you up in a hotel out here? Because I don't know that we're going to be able to get into the city. And he just said, I can't, because he had some medication in the city, at his apartment in the city he had to take. He goes, I'll take the train. I thought any more about it. But, you know.
Did the train work? Was the train working?
I think the train was working in the morning.
Okay.
And we were sort of saying, do we put this back a few hours? But what if it's worse? And we just figured, finally we said, let's just do it. Let's just do it, hope for the best. And we got it all done. And John was, what were you, the production manager pretty much, I guess?
Yeah.
I think so. So John had a truck full of stuff. And again, we had no money. So we rented a truck for next to nothing full of all kinds of equipment from somebody. And John just also loaded it with sand and salt and umbrellas and a tarp. So at one point we had to film some zombies coming out of this the bushes, and I was like, well, we don't want the camera to go. And John's like, tarps. He puts up like one of those portable, things, and whatever we needed. It worked so well. Regina Hardy she wasn't our AD. I don't know what she was. Maybe she was just doing craft or something, but it's sort of like, okay, well, it's going to rain, so maybe we can eat now. Let me call her. I called her up. She goes, yeah, food's here. I'm like, what do you mean food's here? She goes, I think it was raining. I'm like, thank you. Because, everything, besides all the nightmares happening outside and besides so many people not even really having done this before, everybody was so on their game.
Right. Amazing.
Oh, it really was.
Well, I mean, it was a good zombie film.
I know, well. Oh, yeah, great zombies. Oh, yeah, our makeup, our special effects person, I think, had the flu or something, or food poisoning or something, and just like...
Forget about the guy who got mugged.
Oh, yeah, one of our zombies got mugged at gunpoint in the city, but he still made it out after.
Was he in makeup or not yet?
No, he wasn't in makeup yet, but it's sort of like,
amazing.
I have to file a report. It's like, oh my God. But it's just one thing after the other. And I'm like, this is trial by fire. I mean, this is trial by everything you can think of. Trial by snow, trial by muggings, trial by flu, trial by just about everything.
Isn't that like an Incan calendar? Like rain, the age of rain.
My God.
So it's the age of zombies and snow. And
I know. And I'm not even a horror person. I mean, I've actually been doing horror, but I just wanted to do this goofy, silly thing. And Carrie Ferranti was her name at the time. It's now Carrie McCabe, who's one of Mark Ria's partners.
Right.
So, she's like, well, do you want fresh zombies or do you want... I'm like, there's different kinds. I don't know.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Have you been watching, what is it, the one in France, the version in France?
No.
Of Walking Dead?
No, I haven't.
It's really good. The one in France is really good. The one in Manhattan, I was like, bullshit. Everyone's like, come on, because we went to the premiere of the one in New York, The Walking Dead New York, and I'm like, first of all, I got a beef with this. First of all, we'd have no zombies. New York City would be the only place with no zombies. I'm like, the rats and cockroaches would have eaten them all. No way. And they're like, you're sticking by that. I'm like, yes, I am sticking by this. There is no way. New York, it would just be skeletons. New York City would have no zombies, and I'm sticking by it. And if you're listening to this, Walking Dead people, bullshit. New York City would have no zombies. The rats and the roaches would have eaten them. Basta. That's what I'm saying.
Don't screw with New York rats. Definitely don't screw with New York rats.
Right? Or cockroaches.
But I mean, I think the only zombies I've ever watched, I think, was Night of the Living Dead, which took me literally 4 or 5 years to watch it because I was terrified of it. But I finally, because it just scared me. Because this could be real. I can't watch this. And I finally watched that. Then I watched, of course, Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead and all that stuff. And then The Last of Us, which we were discussing, The Last of Us. And that's probably the only current zombie thing that I've watched. So what made you want to do a zombie film? We just came, I don't even know. We were walking the dog, which is where all our ideas come up, walking the dog around the park. And I think John said something about, I guess Walking Dead was that, even though we hadn't watched it, and we were deciding if there was a zombie takeover, what groups wouldn't even know? Like, and John said, well, if you're a teacher and the teenager are all zombies, what do you just figure they're, jerk teenagers, so you don't really pay attention. Right. If there was a judge and people, the defendants, you think people complaining, you whisk them out and, contempt charges or whatever. And then I said, well, what? And I don't know how we came up with the taxi driver, but like, I think because of my crazy experience with a crazy taxi driver, I think that came up many years, way back, when I used to work in the city and party in the city and fell asleep on the train and missed my station. And so I had to call a taxi driver to bring me back to my car. And he wasn't wrapped too tightly. And and it was pouring out, you know. I'm like, wow, you know, it's whew, thank God you got here. So he goes, it's raining. I'm like, oh, he's gonna kill me. Just his demeanor was, it's raining out. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna die. And I said, well, what if that had been a zombie in the car and you need your ride, you know? So if the taxi driver was the zombie himself, you still have to get where you're going. So, you know, you just hope for the
Fair.
best. But
Fair.
in this case, he's one of the only people who isn't a zombie.
Right.
And then there's other people who are not zombies, but they're usually pretty bizarre. You
That's
know,
awesome.
because they're hiding out. And Deb
Well, yeah, you couldn't tell the difference between a zombie and like a good East Villager. I mean, like, you know.
Well, this was Long Island, so you
Oh.
know, maybe a little easier. And Deb Twist plays one of the passengers who's a little not too tightly wrapped. So
Oh my God, she's amazing.
yeah, but it was fun, and it was just a goofy idea, and then that was it. I think it was just a goofy idea that we would do it, and then we would get Bobby, who was one of the funniest people in the entire world, and I had just cast him and Deb in a movie before that called, which is funny because it's called Living with the Dead, but it's not a horror movie. So he played her father. No, Deb Twist was his wife, and Emily Jackson played the daughter, and which I cast all of them, and then I brought them all into Last Taxi Driver because I wanted to work with them so badly. So Bobby was the
What
taxi
a great
driver.
title, by the way. I love
The
that
Last
title.
Taxi Driver?
I love that
That was the
title.
best.
That's a great title.
It was fun. It was really fun to do. And, you know, when you do your first film, you think it's great. So you're just going to send it to everybody, which I did. And, you know, it got rejected almost everywhere, but it didn't. And then it also made it into the monthly screening of Holly Shorts. That's an Academy Award qualifying film festival. It's okay. And it did won a nice amount of awards and everything. But in the beginning, you're sure, yeah, I'm getting a Sundance, and I'm getting a Tribeca. Yeah, no, you're not. But
You never know, right?
and I never thought I would do it again. I really didn't. I actually wrote it, and I remember asking my friend Nugent, who was also one of Mark's partners. I said, "Well, who's going to direct it?" He goes, "You are." I'm like, How do I know how to do it? Because you're going to, don't worry, I'm there, don't worry. He was my first AD. He goes, you're going to do it, it'll be fine. And I remember Christine Vertugian, who was the director of Living with the Dead, is sleeping in my guest room. She was going to do costuming for us and whatnot. And I had cast and produced her first feature. And I'm texting her at 3 a.m. I'm like, I don't think I can do this. If I can't do this, will you step in? She goes, yes, I will, but you'll be fine. Because she wasn't sleeping. You'll be fine. I'm there if you need me, but it'll be fine.
That's lovely.
You know, and then that worked out. But I was like,
Yeah.
I can't do-" and then I never stopped. You know, all
I
these-
love that's your origin story.
I did not know that would be my origin story, but yeah.
Your origin story is a zombie film, and I love it.
I know.
That's amazing.
We should do another one. So we want to do another horror film, but it's going to be based on Brimstone, but the horror version of Brimstone.
Oof.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Okay.
So I want to do that. We're doing the Christmas movie, but I have a feeling the Christmas movie would be more in the traditional way, raising money for investors. But Franklin, I think we're going to do on our own, so we can do it sooner. So it's basically the date. Now, did you see Brimstone? Did I send you that? Oh, okay. Yeah, there's a whole Brimstone universe, but there's the original Brimstone where John plays Franklin, who's the very abusive father, and his son is basically got PTSD from a childhood just having the shit kicked out of him. And he'd become a heroin addict, although he'd been clean for a number of years. He meets Daphne, and
Crazy.
it's basically him confronting his father so he can move on with his life. And it's very dark, and it was a blast to do, and both he and Travis have won awards all over the place, which is awesome. And from there, I did From the Embers, which tomorrow we're doing ADR on that, which is the story of how David and Daphne met.
Okay.
So he's just a memory, you know, in the tale. But then I'm like, John wrote a Brimstone Lullaby, which is basically all the same characters, but it's mostly from Daphne's perspective, Julia Weiner. And then I said, but we need a horror version. I want where
As a continuation of the story, or sort of like
it's sort of the continuation where Franklin has supposedly died, and they go to close up the house and sign the papers, but they get locked in.
Okay.
And then it becomes Franklin's Fun House, and we'll figure out the rest of that.
Okay.
But, yeah, I'm excited about that.
No,
You want to hear
that's
the first
amazing.
scene? Can I tell you the first scene?
Yeah, please. I
That's
want to hear
one of
this.
the only things we've written other than working on the timeline, but From Brimstone, Franklin has got this old raggedy duster coat, and he wears his ripped hat, and he's from the country, upstate of the country, and he basically, in the feature, it just starts with, you see the back of him just walking. You don't see his face, you just see the back of him walking through, and he walks into a library, the door's open, and people are there with the kids, and every time they see him, they're all turning around, because, he's a creepy guy. So he walks to the library, goes to the reference area, and sits down still, only from the back. And sociopaths or psychopaths can be very charming. So even though they're scared of him, he holds up his library card. He's going, honey, I don't know how to work this thing, darling. Can you help me out here? So she takes the library card from him, and she goes, sure, Mr. Herrick. He goes, Franklin, call me Franklin. And then you see over his shoulder that he's found David, because he hasn't seen his son. And then it just pulls up, and we're just discussing whether you see his face. He thinks you just see his eyes, but I almost think you see his face just with this big smile, and that's the end of the first scene. And then you realize that, and then the credits happen, and then everything that happens after that. But I'm excited about that.
Oh my God. I like the duster. Do you still have it already? Do you have it?
We haven't shot that. We have the coat and everything. I mean, we have.
You need. Oh, you own one.
Yes.
I love a good duster.
He
I was
owns it,
gonna
yeah.
say a real good duster is like a.
Yeah, he's got all kinds of cool stuff from he used to do medieval stuff, so he's got all the swords and all the old outfits, and he gathers outfits depending on the character that he plays.
Oh man, that's great. So you don't have to wardrobe. John's already comes provided.
Oh, he's got tons of stuff. He just did a movie with Letty Buchanan and Eddie LeBron, and he had played a simulation of a totally different character. So he just got a pullover sweater with a button down thing, and and then that'll be useful somewhere else for another movie. So,
Right.
So that's kind of fun. But what's next? So I know you're working on Untold Valor.
Right.
Do you have something else in the future, or that's just you concentrating on that?
We've picked up we also I'm the head of development of our production company, so we've picked up a few properties. Hopefully when Untold Valor goes, we're hoping to also get 3 other shows with some different networks going on, and we're developing a incredible piece that we have David McGee, the writer for The Life of Pi, on. We're hoping, if you hear me, Ang Lee, we're coming for you. We're trying to get in touch with Ang Lee to direct the film, because the last time Ang Lee and David McGee got together, they won an Oscar. And so, it's all about the approach of this project. It's about Operation Baby Lift. And so we have the rights of probably the most famous of the Operation Baby Lift orphans. David McGee has been in touch with them for about 6 years and has been wanting to tell that story. But what we've heard, even for like this other episodic that we picked up from writer Stephen Buck, what's great is the willingness of Hollywood and everyone to work together. But we've heard the same thing over and over again. A lot of them, they just want it to go. They just want to make it. They don't want to be stuck in development hell. And I think having New York independent ethos, I think sometimes we take for granted, because we're like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it, let's just fucking shoot, and LA, it's much more like corporate, and so everybody said yes, but I just want to shoot. They said, I don't care if it's a smaller budget, I just want to shoot. I don't want, nobody wants to get stuck in development, because you could have some multi-million, remember that episode of The Studio where Seth Rogen character buys Scorsese's film and then kills it, and then, but it's so picturesque, because that happens, right? Like, they pay you like $200,000, you get a script written, or $1.5 million to get a script written, like if you're David McGee, and you're six in, and then you find out they don't want to put another $20 million in to do the film, or they don't want to put another $50 million in to do the film, so it gets stuck in development. And so a lot of the people that we're talking to, and a lot of our strategy as a production company, is how do we not stay in development? How do we get our projects made? Like, what do we have to do for our directors, for our writers, for our, for our projects, where we're like, how do we get this stuff made? Because I have a commercial production company, but what we launched about 2.5-3 years ago was a prestige development company, and we're very fortunate to have a partnership with Gigantic Pictures. who did Poor Things, you know, and Scheimpflug's VFX department that did Caught Stealing, Yellow Jackets, Sinners, you know. So we have like this conglomeration of incredibly gifted New York companies coming together, you know,
That's awesome.
to form an umbrella, you know, and working together really cohesively to make prestige cinema, and that's what we're working on. So, you know, we're every day, it's like I feel like a mouse pushing a pencil.
Mm-hmm.
Every day you have to push the pencil a little bit farther along the goal line, you know, both for our personal projects and for also the projects that we're developing for other directors, you know.
Yeah, I just had a conversation with a friend of mine who is doing her first big feature that she wrote. She did bring in a writing partner. They have some big names attached to it, and she is one of the actresses. She's phenomenal. And she, you know, I was talking to her, and I said, I got to talk to you. Am I playing it too small? And she said, you know, I was thinking about that. She said, the difference is this is years we're working on this.
Yeah.
And they're close to it, and they're still going to do it independently, but
Right.
you're still talking about a couple million,
Right.
which is a lot more than a film that I can make for, you know, an
Yeah.
ultra low budget
Right.
project. Because the difference is, by the time I get this done, you'll have done 12 films.
100%.
Yeah, she said, so it's because you do everything yourself, and I'm sure you kill yourselves, but, you know, you get your story out there, so you have to decide what's more important. I mean, Yuletide is going to take longer than the other projects we do, and that's why I think Franklin will happen before that, because the main actors, John, Julia, Travis, are our main actors, and we already know who the, you know, people around them will probably be. So it's very difficult to give that up when you know you can do that. I can do that in 6 months if I
Yeah.
needed to.
Yeah.
You know, a year
Yeah.
would be better.
Yeah.
But where Yuletide could be 2-3 years.
Yeah. 100%.
You know, so it's to do other things while you're working on that,
Yeah.
because we can do that, and we do kill ourselves, but we beg, borrow, and steal. People who have helped us out, Mark and Mara from The Last Taxi Driver and By Blood, and what my second one was, Leaving, and whatever. Mark shot a couple of guys, and so we brought him in to finish it, even though John does most of our shooting now, unless he's in it. And, you know, he'll come back to help whenever he can. And Mara, even though she's now a producer at ABC, you know, she's like, it's when we do my days off, you know. And so
yeah.
it was an amazing experience to work with first people we worked with to get it done.
Yeah.
And I really think it's going to be awesome. It's
No, I think it's
so happy with
wonderful.
that.
It's like, I think it's the blood and DNA of New York City. It's what makes our filmmaking different than Los Angeles. You
Yeah.
know, we're like not corporate. You're like, I remember I went to Queens to get a permit for a place. This is like, we've been working on this cancer research project with Memorial Sloan Kettering, and completely self-funded, and our goal is to basically do a feature, and we've been talking to Fran Drescher about it, but you know, but it started off like, it's such a wacky concept that we had to make the proof of concept for people to see it, just because otherwise they were like, cancer is not funny. And I'm like, oh, but it can be. And you know, because we talked about to a lot of cancer survivors, and they said that, you know, there's like a gallows humor that you get, but the people around you either disappear or they treat you like you can't laugh. And so we decided to approach it from like, what happens if the community comes together? What happens if people were there for you? And what happens if they were also New Yorkers? So I'm like, well, that inherently presents its own humor, you know. And our goal is to basically donate 50% of the profits to charity. You know, so we've been working on this, but in this project, we shot out in Queens, and my DP is like, we're going to jail. And that was his thing in my head. We're going to jail. And I'm like, because he's one of Doug Liman's DPs. And he's like, we're going to jail. And I'm like, look, we went to Queens. We said, we need a permit. Queens was like, nah, I don't know how to permit that. You got to go to New York State or New York office. And then we went to New York State. I don't know how to do that. Like, and so like, no one could give us, like, weeks spent trying to go. So I said, you know what? We're just going to go and shoot. This is very New York, right? We're just going to go and shoot. And we made sure all of our PAs were like really cute girls. And
it's amazing what you got to do when you got to do it.
Amazing. And then these cops got into our shot. And so one of them goes, like cute as a button, goes, "Oh, sorry, officer, so sorry. We're shooting little movie. Do you mind?" And the DP looks at me and he goes, "If it was me and my gorillas, we'd be fucking in jail." I'm like, "Tell me it's the heist of the century." He goes, "When we get out of here and not in jail, it's the heist of the century." So we got this incredible shot in Queens, and I looked at him and he goes, "Heist of the century. I don't want to talk about it." Because, because like, I think, but that's kind of New York, right? Like it's not. I used to joke around. It's not a good shoot unless you've broken a few laws.
Oh, God. I try not to, but sometimes.
Oh, come on! Like you're like, that location has been condemned. Look away! Look away! I was on a commercial. I remember when I was a kid, I was on a commercial job, but I was doing a commercial with it was the same director, but same production company, but the New York company and then the LA company, and so we were traveling. And the New York company, I'm like, "Hey, I need to get this made." And I'm like, and he goes, "Well," I'm like, he goes, "So what's your solution?" I'm like, "Well, if I go to Chinatown, the cost is $250. And he goes, "Hold on." And he turns his computer away. He goes, "I don't want to see you leave." And I'm like, "Cool, rock and roll." Mm-hmm. Same situation, the same production company, the LA version. The item that we had to have manufactured cost us $10,000 because we had to use union, and like nobody would look away, you know what I mean? Like, but New York is like, I don't need to see this. I don't need to see this, and like we're all kind of like, I don't know, we're all a little mental here. We're all a little wacky.
Artists, so in general.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, but I mean, I think there's like an authenticity here that every now and then, like when we collide with LA, it definitely fucks with their world. Because I remember we were on a Target commercial. Me and a bunch of my friends from New York were actually hired out there, and the producers were good friends of mine, and he gave us the whole, consent talk. It was new at the time, right? Mm-hmm. No consent. So I pulled the hairstylist with me, and I'm like, "Can I demonstrate for you that I know what consent is?" And he goes, "Oh, God." And I'm like, No. Let me show you. And I go, "May I grab your ass?" And he goes, "Yes, you may." So I'm like, he consented. So I'm sitting there grabbing his ass in front of the producer. And then he goes, "May I grab your boobs?" I'm like, "Yes, you may." And so he's doing this. He was gay, right? So he's like this, and the producer, and I saw the producer sitting there, like, he grabs the Tylenol, he takes it off, and he goes, Go away. Go away. Just go away." But I'm like, New York City.
I mean, you do what you got to do. I had this one actor that is very famous, and everybody I work with is great. And I've worked with this person before, and I didn't have a problem. And I cast them on another project for which John was the AD, and I was not on it other than casting and producing and whatever. And so I knew it was going to be an overnight shoot, and I got this person for him, and he got all his money for the project, and they just blew up. And now it's overnight, I'm sleeping, I don't know anything, and I look at my phone at like 4 or 5 in the morning, and the director texts me and go, "Your husband is a man among men." I'm like, "Oh no, what happened?" And I got the story the next day that they just lost it, the actor. And they're like screaming at everybody, and I mean, I couldn't eat your food was terrible. And I mean, well, if we're asking you every hour, "Do you need anything? What can we get you?" And you say, no, that's your fault.
Maybe he was off his meds or something.
Probably. So the next day, John basically calls the director, and he said, "All right, you and Debbie are going to take this person out to dinner. I don't want them on set until we're ready for them.
Yeah.
I don't want to go out with them." And John's like, "Shut up. You're going to do this," and da-da-da-da. So with that, I'm like, I text a friend of mine who's this 6'5", gorgeous guy, and I'm like, "Would you do me a favor? I need you," because a female actress. "Would you do me a favor? Would you be her personal transportation?" He goes, "I'm on it." And I told him who it was. He goes, "I'm on it." Anyway, we finally get to the second location. She's so happy.
Of course.
She's so happy. And she's like, "What did you do to her?" I'm like, "It doesn't matter."
Look away.
Look away.
To know nothing.
It's all fine. The shoot went great.
Yeah,
he's like,
yeah.
"What did you?" Nothing. It just whatever. And she and my friend became very good friends. But I knew that would placate her. You know, and so he'd be her chauffeur, take her out to whatever she wants. We'll pay for it. Just take her wherever she wants. And we were talking about. I'm not going to say the name of the project. Your husband is a man among men.
That's so funny.
But you do what you have to do to make the thing work. You know, it just is what it is. But yeah. So there is a new mentality. There is a mentality in New York. Oh, Long Island, we're a little mellower. We are mellower in Long Island. We are.
It's still part of New York, but you can't get away from it.
Yeah, I remember one project that John A. did too. That was pretty wild because we were shooting in South Street Seaport. And of course, they didn't have a permit, but
Permit? What's that?
well, what is that? The director, and I remember John had a director car pulling in, coming in the spot, and luckily every time he did it, it worked out perfectly, and the car came out, and it was just wild how well that worked. And then people were in the background, were extras, which was perfect, and I just remember, and this is just my own thing, it was really cool. I'm sitting there behind the director watching everything going, and a butterfly just lands right on his shoulder. I'm like, oh, that's such good luck. He goes, what? I'm like, it just came in, a butterfly in the middle of South Street Seaport.
Like Avatar.
I know, it's really wild. But
Gaia is approving you.
I think to be a director or a filmmaker that you just have to be so flexible and open to what you can do, because life is going to happen.
We all know the rules that if the tripod's not on the fucking ground, it's legal. I mean, how many of us have like told, for our friends, like held the tripod on our shoes, right? Like, I mean, or like, because that's legal. That's legal. It's not touching the floor. It's not touching the floor. You can't do anything about me. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, that's the thing is, I think we all know the rules out here, and oh God, I love New York. I mean, like, and we all have like I remember we had a Teamster issue at Carnegie Hall once, and I had kryptonite. I had Teamster kryptonite. I had this girl from Long Island named Elena, and she could get them to do anything. She'd go up to them and be like, "Hey, my name's Elena," and like they'd be like, I'd see their eyes get big, and I'm like, and I'd look at her at the end. I'm like, "How many numbers did you get tonight?" She goes, 5. It's a slow day. You know what I mean? Like, she was just like catnip for the fucking Teamsters. Like, she was just the epitome of. I think she looked like their moms or their sisters, and they just found her like captivating. And
I'm amazed at people like that.
Yeah, and she could get them like no one else could get the trucks. And I'm like, "Give me a second." They're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Hold on." They're like, "You need the trucks to get moved." They're like, "Yeah, the Teamsters won't do it." I'm like, "Hold on, Elena," And Elena worked in wardrobe, but she was like, "Hey," and she would twirl her hair, and she'd be like, "Hey," give them her big blue eyes. "Would you do me a favor?" She's like, "Move the truck back like 5 feet. It'd be like so cool." And they'd be like, "Yeah, free to anything." And I'm like, done. She was our krypton. She was.
I may need her number on it.
I'm telling you, I'm like that's like I think that's what you need to know. Like everybody's got an Achilles heel, and you just as an indie filmmaker, you just need to know what it is and how to get there.
Yeah, do what you got to do. You have to know how to talk to people too when you don't have that kryptonite. And usually that's something. That's why I did so well at the film office. Is people would talk to me who wouldn't talk to other people.
Is that how you met Deb from the film office?
No, I met Deb because she was looking for locations for one of her features.
Oh, okay.
And so I helped her with that, and then
because her husband was the.
Yes. And Dean, so I knew Dean. And then when I was casting Living with the Dead for Christine, we were going through people, and she wanted Deb. So since I'd spoken to Deb before, I contacted her, and because I knew Claude, because I'd worked with Claude before, Claude Hesse, I brought him in, and we were interviewing people for the lead, and my brother, of all things, said, "Hey, I have these great friends. Their daughter's an actress." So I said to the director, let's audition, and she ended up nailing it.
Amazing.
And she became the lead in the movie. She was so good. It's one of those things usually you don't want to look, but when you look at this person's a gem, and you're glad you did. But because I would find out what people needed, what were their soft spot, what can I make? Just an example, just one thing at a beach that was very hard to film at, and the Parks Commissioner saying they won't let you. I said, let me just speak to him. And I got on the phone, I let the guy rant and vent, and I basically said to him, what would it take to make you comfortable with this? Well, I'd have to have somebody there. And I said, okay, what would it cost? Well, and by the end of the conversation, he said, I never want to talk to anybody but you. That's it, because
I feel that way all the time.
But he needed to protect what he needed to protect, which was his job, and he was tired of people telling him this is what you have to do.
Right.
So sometimes it's that, when you don't have an Elena that's there to get everything to happen. But we're like almost ready to wrap this up, are we not? We are. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up, and I'm so glad you came out here today to talk to us.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's so good to see you.
So good to see you too. This is awesome. You've done some cool stuff, and I've come to some of your events they've had in the city, which is really cool. So I want to thank Ise White. This is really cool.
Thank you.
Look
Love you,
out
Deb.
for her film Untold Valor and give it some good vibes because it needs to happen. It's an important film. And I want to thank you all for watching us here, as I knocked the microphone over, for watching us on the Best of Intentions, the podcast of Intention Films and Media. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you so much.